Most people walk past a stranger in trouble. Some look away, some pretend they didn't see anything, and some simply don't care. But sometimes, one small act of kindness from someone who has nothing becomes more powerful than the biggest donations from those who have everything. And this is exactly what happened with a young orphan girl named Amara. Her life wasn't easy. Her days were filled with challenges, her nights were quiet, and her dreams were simple. She only wanted to finish her studies, find a small job, and one day make her late parents proud. She didn't have money, she didn't have luxury, she didn't have a family, but she had something far more valuable, a pure heart. Every morning, before the sun fully rose, she walked miles to reach her small community school. She carried old, worn-out books tied with a rubber band, and her shoes had tiny holes she tried to hide. But despite all that, she walked with a hopeful smile, because the school was the only place that made her feel alive. She loved learning, more than anything. What she didn't know was that her school was struggling. Funds were low, many students couldn't pay fees, teachers were giving up, and the building was falling apart. The students had heard rumors that the school might close soon, but Amara prayed every night that it wouldn't. It was the only dream she had left. One morning, while walking along the dusty road, she noticed something unusual ahead. A man was standing beside a broken-down car. He looked frustrated, confused, and a little lost. Cars rarely stopped on this road, so seeing one here instantly caught her attention. She slowed her steps and looked carefully. The man seemed to be checking his tires, then the engine, then rubbing his forehead like he had no idea what to do next. Amara hesitated for a moment. She was shy and she had been taught to avoid strangers, but something about him made her stop. Maybe it was the loneliness she saw in his eyes. Maybe she recognized that look because it was the same look she sometimes carried. She took a deep breath, stepped closer, and softly asked, "Sir, are you okay?" The man turned, a bit surprised to see a young girl approaching him on an empty road. His clothes were dusty from trying to fix the car, his hands were slightly scraped, and he looked tired. He forced a small smile. "I think the engine overheated. And my phone has no signal. I've been trying to fix it, but—" "Nothing is working?" Amara nodded. She didn't know much about cars, but she knew the area well. "There's a small mechanic shop near the village," she told him, "but it's far, and they don't come out here unless someone calls them." The man looked even more defeated now. "I guess I'm stuck then." That's when Amara made a decision that would change both of their lives. "I can help you," she said, "but we'll have to walk. It's a long way, but I can show you the path." He looked at her, surprised by her offer. She was just a small girl with a school bag, someone who had every reason to say, "Not my problem," and walk away. But she didn't. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Yes," she replied, with a small smile. No one should be left alone like this. They began walking together. The sun was getting brighter, and dust rose with every step. She guided him across small rocky paths, tiny shortcuts, and narrow turns only locals knew. Along the way, she talked politely, answering his questions. He asked her about school, and her face lit up. She spoke with so much passion that he found himself smiling without realizing it. Then something she said made him stop walking for a second. She told him how her school didn't have enough chairs, how the roof leaked when it rained, how teachers were leaving because the school couldn't pay them. But even then, she talked about her dreams as if nothing could stop her. The man listened carefully. Every word she spoke felt like a story of courage wrapped in innocence. He had met hundreds of people in his life, rich businessmen, powerful leaders, well-educated professionals, but none of them carried the kind of strength this little girl carried without even knowing it. And here is the hook. The moment that would change everything that followed. The man she was helping wasn't just any stranger. He was the silent, unknown owner of her school. A wealthy businessman who funded small community schools from a distance but rarely visited them. He didn't reveal his identity yet. He just walked beside her, speechless, realizing that his school, his responsibility, was falling apart, and he hadn't even known. But what moved him most was that the girl helping him selflessly, without expecting anything, was one of the students suffering from those problems. As they reached the mechanic's shop, Amara was tired, but smiling. She wiped sweat from her forehead and said, "You'll be okay now. They'll fix your car." The man looked at her with new eyes, deep respect, deep admiration. "You helped me more than you know," he said. Amara shook her head. "I only did what anyone should do." But in his mind he knew not everyone would do what she just did before she left. He asked her name gently. "My name is Amara." "And, your school?" he asked casually. She told him the name, still unaware of who he truly was. He nodded slowly. "Thank you, Amara. I won't forget this." She didn't understand what he meant. She simply smiled and rushed back toward her school, hoping she wasn't too late for her first class, but the man stood quietly, watching her walk away, knowing that her life and the entire school was about to change because of her kindness. The next morning at the orphanage was just like any other day, but there was something different about Amina. She carried a calm happiness inside her. She couldn't stop thinking about the stranger she had helped. She wondered if he reached wherever he needed to go, if he was safe, if he had eaten. She didn't know why she cared so much, but she did. Helping him had made her feel seen. Like her kindness still mattered, even if the world forgot about children like her at school. She sat quietly in the back as usual, but the teachers kept whispering about something. The students could feel the tension too. A few kids nudged each other. Someone important was visiting the school later that day, they said. Someone who wanted to see everything without the staff announcing it too loudly. Rumors spread, a donor, a new investor, or maybe someone who wanted to buy the whole school. No one knew the truth. Amina tried to focus on her class, but her mind drifted again and again. She remembered the way the stranger had thanked her. The way he had looked at her with genuine respect, not pity. That look had stayed with her. When school ended, Amina walked outside with the other students, preparing for the long walk back to the orphanage. But the moment she stepped through the gate, she froze. A sleek black car was parked near the entrance. The same car. The same shiny windows. The same feeling she felt yesterday. Her heart raced. She almost convinced herself it was just a coincidence, but then the back door opened. And he stepped out, the stranger. Except this time, he looked completely different. He wasn't dusty. He wasn't lost. He wasn't tired or confused. He wore a clean, perfectly ironed shirt. His shoes were polished. His posture was confident, almost authoritative. For a moment, Amina felt her breath stop. He walked straight toward the teachers, and suddenly they hurried toward him. Not like they were meeting a stranger, like they were greeting someone far above them. Someone important. The principal himself came running out of the office with a wide smile. Amina understood something. Instantly, he wasn't just anyone. He wasn't lost. He wasn't ordinary. And whatever he was doing here, it had something to do with her. She stepped back, her heart beating faster. She didn't want to assume anything. She was used to disappointment. People came and went, made promises and broke them. She knew better than to hope, but hope came anyway. The stranger's eyes scanned the yard, and then stopped on her. Amina froze completely. He smiled gently. The same warm smile he gave her on the road, and walked toward her. The teachers watched curiously. Some students whispered. A few even looked jealous. He stopped right in front of her. "You made it home safely," he said softly. Amina nodded shyly. "Yes, sir." "You look surprised to see me," he said with a playful kindness in his voice. "I didn't expect you." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I didn't expect you either," he replied. "And yet, meeting you yesterday changed something in me." She didn't know how to respond to that. No one had ever said something so meaningful to her. He gently placed a hand on his chest. "My name is Mr. Kofi Mensah," she blinked. The name meant nothing to her, until she noticed the teachers' reactions. Their faces were a mix of awe and nervousness, like they were standing in front of a king. He continued, "And I am the owner of this school." The words hit her like thunder. Owner of the entire school she struggled in, dreamed in, and sometimes cried in. The school she wished she could continue in without worrying about fees, books, or uniforms. The school that was always just slightly out of reach for someone like her. Amina stared at him in shock. Her mouth parted, but no words came out. I came today because of you, Mr. Mensah said gently. The world suddenly felt too quiet. Even the wind seemed to pause. He looked directly into her eyes. Yesterday, you helped me without knowing who I was. You showed kindness when you had nothing to gain. You didn't ask for money or favors or recognition. You simply cared. She felt her throat tighten. She looked down, unsure how to handle so much attention. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I have met many people with wealth, degrees, power, but very few with your heart. A tear slipped down her cheek, and she quickly wiped it away. Embarrassed, Mr. Mensah shook his head softly. Don't hide your tears, he said gently. They reveal your strength. The teachers were stunned. They'd never seen anyone speak to a poor orphan girl this way. And then, the moment everything changed, he took a deep breath. Amina, I want to offer you a full scholarship. Everything paid for. Books, uniforms, meals, everything. Not for one term, not for 1 year, but until you finish your education. A gasp rippled through the students. The teachers looked like they had forgotten how to breathe. Amina's eyes widened as tears flooded them. She shook her head in disbelief. Sir, I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, he replied warmly. You already said everything yesterday when you stopped on that road. She burst into tears, then not from sadness, but from overwhelming relief. Her dreams, once so far away they felt like stars she could never touch, suddenly felt close enough to hold. He gently placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. But that's not all, he added. Amina looked up slowly, confused. I'm also giving funding to the orphanage you live in. No child under that roof will worry about meals, clothing, or schooling again. She felt her knees weaken. The world spun around her. She had never imagined such generosity, such kindness, could fall into her life so suddenly. Her quiet act of compassion had returned to her like a miracle. The stranger she helped was the man who would change her future, and yet, something inside her whispered that this was only the beginning, because the story wasn't over, not even close. Aisha woke up the next morning with a strange feeling she couldn't explain. It wasn't fear, it wasn't worry. It was something warm and hopeful. She remembered the stranger she had helped on the road, the way he looked at her with gratitude, the kindness in his voice, and the way he promised he would not forget her. She didn't expect anything from him. She had learned long ago that expecting too much only brought disappointment, but still, something inside her felt different today. Maybe because for the first time in a long time she felt seen. She felt heard. Someone had looked at her not as an orphan, not as a burden, but as a human being who mattered. She cleaned her small room, combed her hair, and tied her shoelaces, getting ready to walk to school. The orphanage matron had already left for work, so Aisha quietly stepped outside, the cold morning breeze touching her cheeks. She pulled her thin sweater tighter around her and started walking down the dirt path. School had always been both a blessing and a challenge. She loved learning, but she hated how the other kids sometimes avoided her. They didn't bully her, but they didn't befriend her either. Orphans were often seen as outsiders, children without a place in the world. Still, Aisha walked with determination. Today she felt motivated. Something inside her whispered, keep going, things are about to change. The stranger miles away, the stranger she had helped was sitting in a large office overlooking the town. His real name was Mr. Kofi Mensah. People in the region respected him as a successful businessman and a generous philanthropist. He had built several schools, including the one Aisha attended, though almost no one ever saw him. He preferred to work quietly, without seeking attention or praise. But last night, as he sat alone with his thoughts, he couldn't shake away Aisha's face, her gentle smile, her tired eyes, her bravery. She had no idea who he was, yet she helped him without hesitation. Most people walked past him, some judged him, others were too busy to stop. But she didn't. She chose kindness even when she herself had so little. Mr. Kofi looked down at the bandage she wrapped on his arm. He smiled. A child had shown him humanity deeper than anything he had seen in years. He knew what he had to do. He picked up his phone and made a call to the school's headmaster. Prepare my visit today, he said. I'm coming in person and I need to speak to one of your students privately. His tone was calm but firm. Today was going to change. A life? He knew it. The school playground was buzzing louder than usual. Aisha stepped through the gate and immediately noticed the strange excitement in the air. Students whispered to each other. Teachers were tidying classrooms. Even the janitor was sweeping the walkway twice instead of once. Something big was happening. She walked toward her classroom when her friend Miriam rushed to her. Have you heard? Miriam asked, eyes wide with excitement. The founder of the school is coming today, the real owner. People say he's super rich and very strict. They say you can't even look him in the eyes without getting nervous. Aisha blinked. She didn't know what to say. The founder rarely visited. Some students believed he didn't even live in the country. Why is he coming? Aisha asked. No one knows, Miriam answered. But the headmaster looked scared. So something serious must be happening. Aisha didn't like surprises, especially big ones. She quietly took her seat. But as she opened her book, something washed over her again. A strange feeling that today wasn't normal. Today felt like destiny, the hook, mid-story twist coming closer during the first class. A teacher suddenly knocked and entered the room. Her eyes scanned the students until they landed directly on Aisha. Everyone turned to look. Aisha, the teacher said, the headmaster wants to see you, immediately. The entire room froze. Miriam gasped. The other students whispered, wondering what she had done. Aisha felt her heartbeat rise. Why would the headmaster call her? She hadn't done anything wrong. At least, she hoped she hadn't. She stood up slowly, her legs trembling, and followed the teacher out of the classroom. The hallway felt longer than usual, each step echoing in her mind. What was happening? They reached the headmaster's office. Before the teacher opened the door, she whispered, Behave well. Someone important is inside. Aisha swallowed hard and stepped in. The reveal begins inside the office. The headmaster stood stiff and nervous. And sitting calmly in the visitor's chair was the stranger. The same man she had helped on the road. The same man she saved without knowing who he was, except now. He was wearing a neat suit, polished shoes, and a confident smile. He looked completely different, almost unrecognizable except for his warm eyes. Aisha froze in shock. You, she whispered softly. Mr. Kofi stood up. Aisha, he greeted her gently. I told you I wouldn't forget your kindness. The headmaster looked confused. He had no idea what was happening. He only knew that the owner of the school demanded to meet this girl urgently. Aisha stared at him, unable to make sense of anything. You're the owner of the school? The man nodded. Yes, and yesterday you helped me during a moment when most people walked away. The headmaster gasped silently. This little girl helped the founder of the school. Mr. Kofi continued. You treated me with dignity even when you had every reason to ignore me. You used your own handkerchief to clean my wound. You stayed until I was safe. You saw a human being in pain and didn't look away. That kind of heart is rare. Aisha's eyes filled with tears. She didn't know why. Maybe because no one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever appreciated her so deeply. Mr. Kofi approached her slowly. Aisha, he said softly, I want to help you. I want to support your studies, your life, and your future. I want to make sure you never feel alone again. You changed my day, and today I hope to change your life. He paused for a moment. Are you ready to hear what I want to offer you? And this is where everything was about to change forever. The moment the stranger Mr. Daniel announced that he was the real owner of her school, Anna felt like the world had stopped spinning. The teachers stared in disbelief, the other students whispered in shock, and Anna just stood there, frozen, unable to process what she had just heard. She had spent her entire life thinking she was invisible, unimportant, just another orphan trying to survive. But now the most powerful man in her school was looking directly at her with eyes full of gratitude, admiration, and something she had rarely received: respect. He stepped forward slowly and said, Anna, because of you I am standing here today. You helped me when you had nothing, and you did it without expecting anything in return. That is the true definition of character. The teachers who ignored Anna for years suddenly looked ashamed. Some lowered their eyes, some wiped tears, and Anna, she felt her own eyes fill, but she held them back, not wanting to break in front of everyone. Mr. Daniel continued, I want everyone to understand something. This young girl didn't know who I was. She didn't know what I could offer her. Yet she helped me with her whole heart. This is what kindness looks like. This is what humanity looks like. A soft gasp moved through the crowd. For the first time, Anna wasn't the invisible orphan. She was the center of admiration. But she didn't know what to do with that attention. Her hands trembled slightly. Her heart raced. Then came the moment that changed everything. Mr. Daniel turned to the teachers and said, From today, Anna will receive a full scholarship. She will never be asked for fees again. And she will have everything she needs, books, uniforms, meals, transportation. Everything. Anna's knees almost weakened. She had spent nights crying because she couldn't pay her school fees, because she feared being expelled, because life always seemed unfair. And now, all of that disappeared in a single moment, but Mr. Daniel wasn't done. He said softly, And to the orphanage she comes from, I will ensure they receive funding for food, education, and better living conditions. Every child living there deserves the same chance Anna is about to receive. The teachers clapped gently, slowly at first, then louder, but Anna didn't feel pride. She felt overwhelmed. She walked toward Mr. Daniel and whispered, Sir, why me? I don't deserve all of this. I only helped you a little. He smiled. Because you helped me when no one else did. You helped without thinking what you would gain. People with pure hearts rarely get rewarded. Today that changes. His words struck her deeply. Her throat tightened. A tear escaped, sliding down her cheek. She quickly wiped it away. Moments later, the school staff guided her to the principal's office where documents were prepared for her scholarship. Everyone treated her with a respect she had never known. The same teachers who once ignored her now called her dear and child and asked if she needed water, food, anything. But Anna remained humble. She didn't let the sudden kindness change her. On the way out of the office, Mr. Daniel walked beside her. I want to ask you something, he said gently. She looked up nervously. Yes, sir? He took a breath. What do you dream of becoming? Anna hadn't expected that question. She swallowed. A teacher, she whispered. I want to teach children who don't have parents, because I know how it feels. Mr. Daniel smiled warmly. Then I will make sure you get the best education. One day you will return here as a teacher, and I will be proud to say I helped a girl who once helped me. A surge of hope filled her heart, hope she had never felt before. The idea of a future, her future, suddenly felt real. Later that afternoon, Mr. Daniel insisted on driving Anna back to her orphanage. When they arrived, the caretaker was shocked to see the school owner stepping out of the car with Anna. The children rushed out, curious, whispering and staring. The caretaker asked anxiously, Anna, what happened? Are you okay? Before Anna could speak, Mr. Daniel introduced himself and said, Your girl saved me. She helped me when she didn't have to. And because of her kindness, your entire orphanage will receive support. The caretaker's eyes filled with tears. Some of the children hugged Anna, not fully understanding what she had done, but knowing something big had happened. Mr. Daniel toured the orphanage, taking notes, asking questions. He saw the broken walls, the worn-out beds, the empty pantry. He didn't judge. Instead, he said, We will fix this. All of it. That night, word spread fast. Anna became a quiet hero in the orphanage, though she never bragged. She simply smiled, grateful for the day she almost walked past a stranger, but chose kindness instead. Days passed, then weeks. Construction workers arrived to repair the orphanage. Supplies came in trucks: food, clothes, mattresses, books. The children cheered every time a new delivery arrived. Anna's life transformed as well. At school, she became one of the top students because she finally had time to focus on studying instead of worrying about survival. Teachers encouraged her. Students respected her. Some even tried to befriend her. She appreciated the kindness, but stayed grounded, always remembering where she came from. But the biggest change came when Mr. Daniel returned after a month with news that made her heart beat faster. He handed her a small envelope. Inside was a letter with her name written. Beautifully on it. It said, "Anna, this is the beginning of your journey. This scholarship will follow you through secondary school, college, and teacher training. You will never have to worry about your education again. Keep your heart pure, your spirit strong, and your dreams high." Anna held the letter to her chest. Tears streamed down her face, not of sadness, but of hope. That night, as she sat under the dim lamp in the orphanage, she whispered to herself, "I didn't know helping someone could change my life." And that was the truth of her story. A simple act of kindness had rewritten her entire destiny.